Nessa girl, this is the third damn time I done recorded this video because I want to make sure that I get it right. Dwayne Wade chooses to identify and fortify his child in the manner in which she wants to be identified. And so many of y'all got a damn issue with it. But the question is why? Let's talk about it. Nessa girl, Dwayne Wade, yeah. Got the internet and the whole world set afire. Black people, y'all don't know what to do with y'all damn self. If you see the level of ignorance I have seen down to the Facebook status messages, it would appall you, and it did appall me, which led me to make this video. My child gonna be whatever I name it on the birth certificate until they get 21 and get out of my house. I don't understand why people forcing this stuff on this transgender stuff on children. I don't understand why people making their kids gay. Kids don't know nothing about no sexuality. You gotta train them and teach them. This is what's wrong with black men today. All the black men want to wear dress, and it just goes on and on and on. And you know, it gets exhausting when you are somebody who falls outside of the parameters of those opinions. Because I'm somebody that doesn't really get jiggy with that, when I have to read that stuff, it's like, Lord, here we go again. I read a very interesting article the other day that said people have a ability to completely dismiss and reject logic, rationale, and evidence when it does not align with their worldview. So that being said, there is a demographic of people out there that no matter what you tell them, no matter how you pour your heart out to them about issues like this, because Grandma Gladys taught them this, because their pastor told them this, and because this is the way they were brought up, no matter what you show them, no matter what you tell them, they are not going to move anywhere. And you know, unfortunately, I find that to be the true definition of ignorance. And it's actually very dangerous for me when somebody can show you that the sky is blue, but you insist that it's red because that's what your grandma told you. But you live your life the way you choose to. They say ignorance is bliss and God takes care of babies and fools. So I hope hopefully he takes care of people who are that inflexible in their thinking. I found it prudent to do this video because I was talking to a good friend of mine yesterday on the phone, my friend Tanisha, and she asked me about the Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union situation, and I hadn't really thought about it. Because I'm a part of the community, that's everyday life for me. So when those things were coming up on my timeline, I was just scrolling because it didn't mean anything to me. It's my daily walk. But at the end of our conversation, my friend said, you know, wow, Q, you gave me some things to think about. You opened my eyes to a few things. I didn't look at it that way. And because I was able to do that for her, I found it prudent to make this video because perhaps I can do this for some of you guys. The first thing that I want to say, and this may ruffle a few feathers, is that when it comes to matters of gender identity and sexuality, whether I feel gay, whether I'm transgender, I don't understand for the life of me how it is that heterosexual people, and why it is heterosexual people, have such strong, definitive opinions and attitudes towards a matter that they know nothing about. You can think, you can dream, you can imagine, you can speculate, you can regurgitate what your grandma said, what your neighbor told you, but you do not know. So many women would be up in arms if I stood up right now and told you how it feels to be pregnant, how it feels to have a miscarriage. That would be so absurd to y'all, right? Now listen, I heard when the baby kicks, it feels real weird, like the bubble guts. You know, I heard when you giving birth, it feels like pushing a melon out of your booty hole. Like, I can regurgitate these things, I can speculate these things, but I will never, ever, ever know I'll never know. With that being said, I don't understand how it is that people know what they know when it comes to being transgender and gay. Listen, I'm gay, okay? I enjoy having my dick. I enjoy showing up in the world as a boy. I don't know what it feels like to be born in the wrong body or to feel like I was born in the wrong body. So when trans people talk about that feeling, there is nothing for me to debate. All I can do is listen. That's all I can do. Don't get me wrong, we're all human. Thoughts formulate in my head, but in terms of me standing on a public soapbox and saying this is my official stance on this, I don't have 2 legs to stand on, and it just baffles me how so many of you do. The point that I want to make, and the point that swayed my friend Tanisha's thoughts as it related to this issue, was as a parent, as uncles, as aunts, as a community, it is our ultimate job to make sure that our children show up in the world as their best selves. Okay? I'm going to repeat that. It is our job to make sure that our children show up in the world as their best selves. And their best selves may not always align with what makes us feel comfortable. And when I say their best selves, we want our children to show up in the world strong, secure, confident, ready to tackle all the challenges that life is going to throw to them. So my thing with Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade, and what I love about it, is that when their child came to them with this, they had 2 options. They had the option to deny who their child said they were, which would have done so much psychological damage to the child. It would have made the child go into a hermit, have to hide who they were, sneak around, or they had the option of fortifying their child and saying, you know what? We may not understand this, but you were born this way, and we're going to support that, and we're going to give you the tools and the confidence and the support that you need to take your journey through life. See, what a lot of people don't understand is just because you had your high school sweetheart and you went off and got married and you married your prom date and just had this picturesque, picture perfect, perfectly spelled out life, that does not mean that that's the journey for your child. And yes, it's nothing wrong with wanting that for your child, but you have to be flexible in understanding that your journey is your journey and this person's journey is this person's journey. Now listen, y'all, and here's the part where some of y'all are going to choose to throw out history and facts to stick to your worldview. Gay people have been around from the beginning of time. Transgender people have been around since the beginning of time. I don't understand why so many people have issues accepting those facts and accepting the fact that everybody is not the same and people are born the way they are born. Speaking of Zion, and from a gay man's perspective, people used to always tell me it's a choice. Well, just stop being gay. Well, you ain't got to be gay. You ain't got to be that gay. Do y'all honestly think that in the 3rd grade, when those kids was throwing rocks at me and calling me faggots and all type of stuff, and I'm sitting in class crying and can't go home and tell my mama that I'm being bullied because of this certain situation, excuse me, do y'all think somebody chooses to purposely go through that? I say this with love, and it's no shade, but being transgendered in America, you are at the bottom of the social totem pole. Being transgender and black in America, you are at the very bottom of the social totem pole of acceptance. Why would anybody purposely and intentionally put themselves through that? I think it's basic human nature that if we could all snap our fingers and fit in with the norm and fit in with the status quo and not have to endure any prejudice or discrimination or hate, I think that most people would say, Lord, let me snap my fingers and click my heels and rub two sticks together and do that. It's a hard walk when you don't fit in with the herd. It's a hard walk, and nobody chooses to do that. So for me, to y'all, if your children come to you and they say they feel a certain way, before you reach down in your what you've been trained, what you've been taught, take a beat and listen. And moreover, before you respond, I'd rather you tell that child, let me talk to you about this later. Pretend to be busy. Let me talk to you about this later. And go get the resources, the research, or at least the proper way to respond to the child. A lot of people get upset with me about my views on parenting because I'm not necessarily a parent. I ain't got no kids biologically, but I got a lot of nieces and nephews, and I once was a child. And I don't have to have a child to tell you how I know, to tell you how I wanted to be spoke to about this issue when I was a child. That's my take on the situation. You know, aside from that, leave this conversation understanding, live and let live. And just because you don't understand something, don't make it wrong. And everything in this world ain't for you to understand. Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union, in my book, what they're doing is very uncomfortable because black people in particular and minority communities, we have such a traditional, strong way of how we view things are supposed to be that's steeped in religion and tradition. And, you know, just because it was done that way doesn't make it right. And there's always room to readjust and unlearn certain things and get with the program. So I encourage y'all out there to get with the program, get educated about a few things. And I'm not saying that you have to change your beliefs or go to hell because we pushing this gay agenda. I'm simply saying find a loving way to address the issue. That's all I got. Ain't got no more. I'll call y'all a little later. Bye.